Hi, and welcome to my channel where I make dishes inspired by some of my favorite video game characters. Today's dish is inspired by Ryza from the Atelier Ryza series. Ryza's games were my first of the Atelier series, and I absolutely fell in love with them. It's so relaxing to play these sweet and colorful games focused on friendship, discovery, and bonds. I am also a person who loves crossing things off on a checklist or a to-do list, and these games feel like one big checklist to me. Fought all of the enemies? Check. Gathered all of the unique materials? Check. Synthesized all of the different alchemy recipes? Check. I love the satisfying feeling of taking on all that the game has to offer me, especially when the stakes don't feel too high, and there's no huge rush. Ryza's attitude through the games is so positive and endearing, and it's hard not to root for someone like her who is just having the time of her life following her dreams and passions with her friends. I love her bubbly personality as well as her bubbly and fun design, especially her adorable hat. Within the games, Ryza is known to like the nectar fruit a lot, which is essentially just a peach. It also unfortunately looks like a butt, and I know I shouldn't feel this way, but I know a lot of people in the fandom think Ryza has a nice booty. So anyways, I felt that a dish based off of this fruit would be perfect. I knew I wanted to make something sweet for Ryza to match her sweet disposition, and I started leaning towards something that would be eaten out of a glass and would resemble a potion, which is one of the more stereotypical things that an alchemist makes. Lastly, with all of the different materials being housed in circles within the synthesis menu, and with Ryza's bubbly personality, I gravitated towards something made with tapioca or boba pearls. So for Ryza, we are making a peach and strawberry sago dessert, or a tapioca pudding. Here's what you'll need to synthesize your own: 6 medium peaches, uncooked tapioca pearls, sweetened condensed milk, heavy cream, water, granulated sugar, strawberries, and sliced almonds. To prepare everything, we have a few things to cut at the cutting board. We'll peel and pit about 6 medium peaches. 2 of the peaches we'll chop into bite-size or wedge pieces, and the remaining 4 peaches will be used for later. Next, we'll chop up about 1 cup of strawberries and save for later as well. Lastly, we'll make sure we have about 1 cup of sliced almonds. You can buy a pre-sliced bag like me or cut your own. Now that the prep is out of the way, the first thing we'll start making is our toasted almonds. We'll preheat our oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit and line a baking sheet with parchment paper. We'll pour about 1 cup of sliced almonds onto the baking sheet in a thin layer and then pop in the oven for about 5 to 10 minutes. They should come out a nice and light golden brown, and we'll allow them to cool to room temperature for garnish later. We'll then get started on our strawberry syrup. Of course, this is an element of the dish that you can buy from the store if you don't want to synthesize your own. To make it, we'll grab a medium saucepan and add a half cup of water and a half cup of granulated sugar. Mix everything together and then heat on medium-high, stirring occasionally until the sugar dissolves. Once the sugar crystals are dissolved, we'll add in our 1 cup of chopped strawberries and continue heating the mixture until it begins to boil. Once it boils, we'll continue heating it and stirring occasionally for 10 minutes. When 10 minutes have passed, we'll then reduce the heat to medium-low and continue heating for about another 10 minutes until the concoction becomes thicker like a syrup. We can then strain out the liquid into a bowl and allow it to cool at room temperature before storing in the fridge for later. Our next step in the process is to make the sago, or tapioca pudding. We'll grab a medium pot and fill it halfway up with water and heat it on high until it is boiling. Once the water is bubbling, add in a half cup of uncooked tapioca pearls and then reduce the heat to medium and cover with a lid. The tapioca pearls will cook and soften for about 15 minutes. Make sure to stir every now and then so the tapioca doesn't stick to the bottom of the pot. When 15 minutes have passed, turn off the heat and keep covered with a lid. The tapioca will sit and soften for another 10 to 15 minutes until it's ready. When it's done, the tapioca pearls should appear completely translucent. If they are not yet finished, you'll still see a few small white dots in the centers, and this is just a sign to give it a couple more minutes before you check again. Once your tapioca is soft and see-through, you'll strain it out and rinse the pearls with cold water so that they become cool. Try to strain out as much of the excess water and moisture as you possibly can before you pour the tapioca into a large separate bowl. To that bowl, we'll then add in 1 3/4 cup of heavy cream and give it a good stir. Remember the 4 peaches that we reserved earlier? Time to use them now. We'll throw those 4 peaches into a cauldron, into the blender, with a 1/2 cup of sweetened condensed milk. We'll blend this mix together until it is well combined and smooth. The synthesis is really coming together at this point. We'll add the mix of condensed milk and pureed peaches to our tapioca bowl and mix everything well together. Feel free to taste and add more sweetened condensed milk if you'd like it to be a little bit sweeter. To finally assemble everything together, you can use a spoon or squirt bottle to decorate the inside of 4 cups or serving bowls with your strawberry syrup. This will give the dish that nice red color that Ryza wears. We'll then pour and divide the peach sago amongst all 4 glasses as evenly as possible. Our next step is to sprinkle with our toasted almonds and our diced peaches. Everything is completed and ready to be eaten at this point, so let's dig in. This is such a fun and exotic dessert to try. I love tapioca and boba, so snacking on the chewy pearls is so satisfying and enjoyable to me. The pearls are nice and soft, as well as the fresh and fruity peaches, and the toasted almonds add a nice texture to the dish. Swirling everything together so you get a little mouthful of everything with each bite is so fun. The dish comes together so quickly and easily, and it's just a nice touch of sweetness so you don't feel too heavy after downing it. I think this is a dish that Ryza would love to synthesize, and it's such a good embodiment of her fun, spunky, and bubbly personality. She likely would have learned this recipe really early on in her alchemy career because she wanted to spread joy to her closest friends. Empel would even be surprised that she would use her skills for such a tasty treat. With each of the Atelier Ryza games, her crew of friends just continues to grow, and I imagine that all of her teammates would be so thrilled every time she served up some of this sago. On an ordinary island called Kirken and an ordinary village called Resenboden, Ryza lived her ordinary life, just hoping that someday something interesting would happen, and it eventually did. After so many adventures, she has seen so much of the world and experienced so much, and snacking on her peach sago with her friends would just be proof of that. The recipe card is in the video description if you'd like a more quick and concise version to give it a try. Like if you want a bite, subscribe for more geeky treats, and comment what foods Ryza reminds you of. Thanks for following along.